You're listening to The Dan Nicholl Show.
My guest on the Dan Nicholl Show this week is part of a team of elite athletes who put as big a smile on the collective face of South Africa as anybody has since a certain rugby team in Paris a few years ago. He is a star of the world champion cricket team that is the Proteas. Ryan Rickelton, welcome.
Hello, Dan. Thanks for having me. Nice to be back.
Let me rephrase that introduction. Ryan Rickelton, world champion, welcome. That's not going to get old ever.
I don't think that will ever get old. It was a hell of an exciting thing, I guess, to be a part of. It was a really, really special week in London. So, that's not getting old anytime soon.
It did extraordinary things. And I've had a similar conversation with a lot of the rugby guys, and that, do you realise what an impact you've had? I will give you an illustration of the impact that you've had. My parents-in-law are Greek. The Greeks and cricket do not fit in a Venn diagram ever. And they were telling me excitedly about we won the cricket. They did say that you'd scored more tries than Australia, but that's beside the point. But you've done something extraordinary, and you've been back now for a week or so. Have you got a sense of just how much of an impact this win has had on South Africa?
I think we have, as we've come back to South Africa and interacted with the people and spent time, outside of your home and outside of the team, you start to notice the greater impact of it. In London, we were fortunate enough to have quite a good South African contingency there, but, I don't think we really grasped the magnitude of what we achieved until we got back home and we saw how busy the airport was. I heard from a few guys that this is, as big as the Rugby World Cup victory, and again, I didn't anticipate it to be, but when we got to the airport and we saw the magnitude of people there, the joy on their faces, the support we got, and then from our tour, I guess, around just Joburg and stuff like that, once you start interacting with the people, you really start to grasp the magnitude of it. So it's still trying to sink in a little bit. Every time you go to the shops or you just do anything, there's someone that will say congratulations or well done, and it's quite special. It's a unique feeling, not one I actually ever anticipated having in my life.
There were many reasons that you were able to win this. First and foremost, you're an outstanding team of excellent cricketers, and the team part's so important. But you also had what must have given you an inkling of how much support there was, this ridiculous South African support. People were walking through Wimbledon and Putney, and there was just nobody there for 5 days because every South African left to come to the cricket. And I remember I was lucky to be there on day one, and I must have seen 800 South Africans I hadn't seen in the last year or two who had a board meeting in London suddenly come up, despite the fact they don't do any business in the UK. There was such a South African feel to it all, and where it really kicked in, and I wonder if you got that sense yourself, was when the anthems played on day one at Lord's, and there were a few murmured mutterings of Advance Australia Fair, and then up came Nkosi Sikelel, and it just belted it.
Yeah, that was exactly that turning point for us. But to go back, when I got back from the IPL, I jumped on the train from the airport back to Sandton, and minding my own business, I think I had almost about 20 people come up to me and say, we'll see you at Lord's next week, or we'll see you at Lord's in 2 weeks' time. So, like you say, Putney, Wimbledon, everywhere was empty, but we definitely felt the love and the South African contingency there. After the day, you can kind of move around, and they'd be outside of the change room as well, and it was flying with South African blazers and flags. Lots of familiar people that also I haven't seen in plenty years. I'm not sure how much business was conducted that week.
Absolutely
Probably more,
none.
actually. You never know. Probably more than ever. And late after tea on day 1 or 2, let's get this deal over the line. But we spoke about it, a few of us, about the anthems, because we could see a few Australians as well, but we knew that we probably outnumbered them. And when the anthem kicked off, I actually didn't sing the first part because I wanted to listen. And you could hear it honestly sounded like we were playing at the Wanderers down the road here. It was magnificent. The place erupted, and for Lords to be, that classy, quiet demeanor, not a lot of singing and chanting going on, to have a raucous bunch of South Africans supporting us was something we definitely heard.
I've scored not just hundreds, but double hundreds at Lord's in the back garden of every home I've lived in as a kid. And everybody who's ever played cricket to any sort of level, that is the close your eyes one day moment. I'm going to be at Lord's. But to be at Lord's for a World Test Championship final, to be playing against Australia, playing a game where everybody had kind of written you off. Michael Vaughan, hope you're keeping well. He was on the show a few weeks ago. Were there moments when you had just that gap to stop, look around and think, hey, I'm at Lord's. These are South Africans everywhere and I'm representing my country in the world final?
There definitely were. Like you say, Vaughanie writes everyone off that isn't English. So we always keep a close tab on them. There's always a few of those pundits, the Aussie boys as well, were flying in the change room. So, yeah, it definitely was a moment that we weren't going to miss. I definitely wasn't going to miss it. Once I'm really glad we bowled first, just from a nerve and a easing into the game kind of point of view for selfishly myself and probably a few of the other batters to let KG kick us off. But, yeah, I think when you actually walk through the tunnel or through the long room and you stand on the field and, Test cricket's quite slow, you do have a lot more time just to settle in and start listening to the things that you hear, to see some faces that you can scout for in the crowd. But yeah, it was special. I really started to take it in when I got ushered to the boundary and I stood at deep square leg and not much was coming my way, and that's when you can really just stand in the moment and say I'm at Lord's and playing against Australia, something that doesn't actually ever make sense in cricket that you're playing Australia and England, but to see there and you have South Africans behind you, you're chatting to them, engaging with them. You have a few Australians calling you fat and tubby as well, which also makes you, humbled quite quickly.
It's a term of endearment when you're in Australia.
It is a type of endearment. They didn't say it as politely as I just did, but, it's part of the contest. But, yeah, it was unique. The weather played its part, the magnitude of the occasion played its part, and I think we all took in that moment. I can't believe it's already behind me.
We mentioned in jest Vaughanie. I was sitting in Alan Lamb's box with him for a while, and he is a big fan of yours. He was quite excited to watch you, and so were all of us. But he was somebody who felt Australia were the favourites, and I think that was most people. When you guys kicked off, how strong was the belief that, we can actually do this?
I think the belief was truly, incredibly strong from our coach. Shukri really believed that there were a few, loose screws in that Australian team. There's no doubt about it. They're a formidable side, that team that played us a few weeks ago, just with experience, and the caliber of skill they have on display for a long period of time definitely tilted the books in their favour. And we understood that as well. But we also knew that, in a one-off game, we chatted about if 2-3 guys have a really good week, anything can happen. KG had a really amazing week. Aiden, Temba, a few guys really came to the party. But, the belief was there from Shukri. He was speaking about it the whole time, that there's a few things that we can turn over in this team. There's a few things we can turn over. And I think as we gained momentum into that, we started to believe it. A few of us might have been a little bit hesitant up front. We are playing against, again, some of the best players in the world. But I think it's time that we stop selling ourselves short and also realize that we have some really good players in the world too. And again, really happy that we bowled first because KG showed us why, not to write South Africa off, and especially him. Probably arguably one of the greatest Test players to play the game when he eventually does retire. But as the game went on, more belief came into the mix with all of us. We kind of felt that Australia of the past maybe doesn't have that stigma what they once used to have. And once you got a little bit more comfortable in the game, then it was about skill versus skill. And, it was a great Test match. The game properly ebbed and flowed. But like I said, as each day went on, there was more belief that we could do it.
You mentioned Shukri. I was chatting to him, and he was very grateful for all of those gifts that you'd sent him and the build-up to him deciding who would be in the starting 11. He comes across as a coach who has two wonderful qualities. There are many, I'm sure, but the two that really shine through watching from outside. One is how absolutely, genuinely passionate and almost overexcited he is about being in the role that he's in. But also, and I go back to a test match at Centurion where you shortened the lives of many of us as a squad when you needed to get a victory. And he was quite simple I think it was Kagiso and Tamarko were going out to bat. Yeah, I don't care what you do as long as you believe in what you do. And he very clearly has that. He believes 100% in you guys, in your ability, in who you are as cricketers, but also as people.
Yeah, he does. I think that's probably his greatest quality. Look, as an experienced coach, maybe not at international level, but just through his years, through his journey, he's a highly experienced coach. He does bring a lot of calmness, and he's really trying to rewrite that narrative of South Africans being just not as good, and trying to instill a lot of belief in all of us. Again, I think South Africa's been blessed over the past. We have always had really good cricketers, but I feel like we've always struggled with that self-belief that maybe the Australians, the Indians, the English do. So he's really trying to change that narrative and make sure that we, represent ourselves as best as we can and try make sure that we play that way in order to do ourselves justice. And he's got a good group of players on the table that he can work with. He got some highly skilled players as well, some greats, some hopefully aspiring greats as well. And yeah, he really does instill that self-confidence. That test match in Pretoria, I do remember the story that when KG and Marco were batting, all three of them smoke Shukri as well, and they walked outside around the corner there, and I think we needed 60 or something after lunch, and they had 2 cigarettes each. They said not one word was spoken. They just looked at each other, they nodded, and KG and Marco went out and finished the game for us. But I don't know if that's belief or if that's just the cooling effect of a cigarette. I wouldn't know, but yeah, he definitely does. He definitely does inspire the guys to have a lot more self-belief. And really just make it play for yourself and obviously for the side.
Well, it clearly worked, so we will take it.
Should all start smoking.
Yeah, so this podcast is mostly aimed at children, so listen to Uncle Ryan, kids, and wash it down with a beer. I want to ask you about one of the other leaders, and it's been a real coming-of-age space, I feel, for Themba Bavuma. Not because he should have needed it to be, but he is somebody for all manner of reasons, and sadly we're far too aware of many of them in this bipolar country of ours, where he often hasn't got the recognition either as leader or as cricketer, and he nailed both of those spaces, captaincy and a batting display that might not have had the 100 that Aidan brought up, but with a gone hamstring and being peppered and knowing he was the captain, producing what was an absolutely majestic innings.
Yeah, Themba was phenomenal, not just this week, but obviously through the whole cycle as well. But, it's a real tip of the cap to him. The innings he played, the way he conducted himself, I think firstly, and the way he managed the team was spectacular to be a part of and obviously to watch. He's had his fair share of scrutiny and pressure on him over his career, but I think that's really formed him into a resilient leader, resilient player, resilient captain, and all those qualities are on display that week at Lords. He knuckled down. He stayed calm. I think that's probably his greatest attribute as a leader and as a batter. It's very easy to get a bit excited and get a little bit outside of your game, which I find I can do. But that's an admirable quality that I'm trying to learn from him as well. Just to be able to stay really calm and really in your bubble when the heat's on. And there's no doubt about it, the heat was on him this week. The heat was obviously on the side, but you're always going to look to the leader in big games and in big pressure moments. And I think the way he conducted himself, he rose to the occasion. He might not have got the glistering 100, but Aidan wouldn't have been able to get it without him doing his part as well. So again, that belief that he instilled the way he played, the calmness that he brought to the change room, just in how he went about it was very reassuring for the guys coming in behind him. Sitting next to Stubbs, his leg is shaking the whole time, but watching Themba and watching Aidan really get into their work was calmed him down and obviously calmed the rest of the group down. But yeah, it's full credit to him. He deserved the moment. It would have been special for him if he could have got across the line and been there at the end, but a massive feather in his cap for who he is as a person, and a leader, and the way he's conducted and ran the South African cricket side.
One last one on this epic week, which even you are probably starting to slightly tire of talking about since you got back. The celebrations. I've been caught up accidentally in one or two Springbok celebrations after moments of triumph, and they are certainly enthusiastic affairs. You guys were clearly absolutely jubilant. You had a stadium full of supporters, but it wasn't a celebration that ended after the first half hour. I think it spilt over into golf and just taking it all in without getting anybody arrested or getting an injunction against the podcast from an irate cricketer. What were those few days like of soaking it all up and letting your hair down?
They were cool. I think when you win, there's no real plan on what you're going to do other than you're just going to have a lot of beers. And we sat in the change room at Lord's for, I think, 6 or 7 hours, just enjoying the moment of being at Lord's, winning a test match and obviously achieving what we did. But, it was really cool. We had the families there as well, so they were all involved too. And, once we got going, there was no stopping us. After that, we managed to roam into High Kensington. Everyone was still in their whites, and jumped out to a few pubs and stuff like that. And again, we were welcomed with open arms by a very strong South African group that kind of knew where we were going to be. So once we got engulfed after the change room, everyone was kind of on their own mission just to make sure that they celebrated with each other and obviously with the family and the fans as well. It roamed on. We had 4 days in London before we flew back as well. So I think Kyle and Bedders might have stayed in their whites for all 4 of those days, in all honesty, if they could have. But the guys really took the boat out. And then I think we slowed down a little bit towards the back end and managed to relive it when we got back to South Africa and Castle.
Reminds me of Hachiva, the great Stormer, in his Stormer's gear for a week after they won the URC against the Bulls. You're probably the only South Africans who don't actually know what a pint costs in London, because I very much doubt you had to buy one after that.
Buy one this whole week. It was spectacular. We had a lot of people spending their money on us, which definitely shouldn't have been the case, but we were definitely grateful for all of it. I see Khaleesi came to our, when we got back to Cricket South Africa, and he was part of the the celebration as well. And he told us asked how the celebrations go. You enjoying it? Said, yeah, we loved it. I asked him, how long did you guys celebrate for after the World Cup? He said, it'll been celebrated for 3 weeks. He said, 3 weeks of booze and brandy and braais and everything like that. And I said, shuff, he's a bit bigger than me. He can last a lot longer than me. I said, I have about 2 days left in Mysia, and he said, don't worry, he also was the same.
Well, you got a benchmark to aim for.
3 weeks, God.
But there are also benchmarks to aim for sporting-wise, because I know enough of you, I know enough of your teammates, to know that as much as this was an incredible achievement, it's certainly not right. Well, we're now all done and there's nothing more that we need to do. And I think for you in particular, watching over the last couple of years, really making your name in the IPL, becoming not just shall we fit him in, shall we not? You're now very much a key part of your team in the IPL. You've got a Test double 100. Since we last saw each other properly, which would have been when the show was still on television, where you've got to as a cricketer has been really cool for those of us amongst your many fans to watch, but it must also have a real sense of reward and deliverance for you.
Yeah, definitely. Things can happen quite quickly in cricket. Like you said, when we were last chatted, it was a very different situation for me. But I guess it's that belief that things can happen quickly in cricket. They can also take a very long period of time. And fortunate enough that things probably really turned around in the SA20 when I managed to find a bit of leg room there and managed to kick off. And I think going to the IPL now, the confidence that it's instilled in me as a player and as a batter as well, is something that it's really tough to get. It's just kind of happens in a way that if you can do yourself justice and compete in that league with those caliber of players there, it is something that you can take in your stride and really make sure that you can capitalize on it. And I'm feeling really good and really confident about the way I'm playing the game across all 3 formats. So obviously just trying to make sure that I keep trying to get better and manage those things accordingly and take those experiences going forward. And it might not even be experiences of scoring runs, but experiences of learning the things that I learned at Lords, just personally about myself, stuff in India, stuff in Pakistan. And yeah, just really trying to make sure that I still keep growing with it along the way. But yeah, like I said, things happen quickly. I'm really enjoying the journey as well. If you asked me the last time we were on, I would have said I probably hated it. But yeah, like I say, things take time as well. But yeah, I'm really just enjoying my cricket. We got a great bunch of guys in all the teams that I'm playing for at the moment. We haven't had any issues with anyone or anything like that. And it's really enjoyable when you got a nice group. Obviously, South Africa's prize one, and it's consistently the same players around, which really helps. You got a lot of good mates there too, so it also makes you want to keep getting better and keep putting performances in for the team. And if I can keep doing well and obviously try to be the first couple names on the team sheet, I back myself to be able to score some runs and hopefully do well going forward.
If things had not gone according to plan, we would, of course, had pretended that the test final had never happened, and we wouldn't have discussed it at all. But we would still have had plenty to talk about because you had such a great season in the IPL. We see it through the vignette of television, and here's 20 overs each side, and away we go. Rickelton is smiling. Opposition bowlers are off to therapy. Rinse and repeat. But beyond that, it is such an extraordinary world. What was this season like? Off the pitch, IPL, you're now one of the stars of the competition. You're a big name in a very big name team. How rock star, cool, surreal is this really happening? Is it all?
It's a massive wake-up call, a massive change for me as well. Like you say, it's a rock star team. We have 4 of India's biggest players ever in our side, and we got a really good group of players, but it did catch me off guard. You always heard, the things of how famous you can become, especially in India. But I think that side alone, it really opens your eyes. We obviously have the big 4 with probably Sky, Hardik, Rohit, and Jasprit. And the Indian public would gather downstairs in the hotel to obviously see the big 4, but they never get to see them, so they settle for who comes next. And that's myself, Will Jacks, Mitch Santner, Reece Topley, all the other guys that are stupid enough to walk in the lobby in broad daylight. So, yeah, it's something that takes a bit of getting used to. Everywhere you go, they're just so cricket fanatic. They adore the game, they adore the side, and it's all in good spirits. They're just really passionate. They want signatures and photos, but it can get quite overwhelming a few times.
What's been the craziest moment so far?
So outside of our hotel at the Trident, this was a bit of an eye-opener for myself. It was myself, Will Jacks, and Mitch Santner. We were going to a little cafe called Suzette's, but we sneak out the back of the hotel. It's about 400 or 500 meters away. So we quickly pop our glasses on, our caps, and we head off. And as we're walking along the street, we get spotted by a group of kids playing some cricket on a Sunday afternoon. And before we could see it, obviously, there's about 60 kids running towards us. And we are legging it down the street to try get to this cafe, Suzette's, to just get coffee and a bit of breakfast.
Being pursued by 60 Indian children.
60 kids, but then the problem is the kids gain attention too, and now suddenly the other men are involved. So now there's also grown men charging for the 3 of us down the street. And that was just like it was a bit weird in a way. So we managed to have our breakfast there. We legged it inside. They locked the door for us and they looked after us, but we had to call our security to come fetch us and drive us 400 meters back home. So, yeah, a very weird experience. Not something we'd be getting here.
Yeah, I love the fact earlier you mentioned that you got back from the IPL as one of the stars of the entire season, and you get the whole train back into town.
Yeah, I missed a bit of public transport, so it's a bit effective, but putting on my earphones thinking no one's going to notice me, and luckily South Africans, no one really cares, so no one does.
I'm not sure about that, but it is this absolutely crazy world of yours, and it's one that does many things, but I think as a cricketer jettisons you into a new level of play, not just because the guys you're playing against, but you're now in the nets with a Jasprit Bumrah. You're getting to share thoughts with Rohit Sharma. These are modern greats, and you've basically got a high level cricket lesson every time you have a practice.
Oh, incredible. You can't forget the coaching staff. Mahela Jayawardena, one of the greats of cricket, Kieran Pollard as well, Lasith Malinga. plenty of names to talk to and chat through. Yeah, and it's cool. Their lives are very different to ours. So one thing we obviously connect over is cricket, and we do spend time, whether we're in the middle together or on the side of the park chatting and just trying to gain those, those little lessons. All four of them, when I say goodbye before we left, just before the IPL ended, wrote, "Please beat Australia, please beat Australia." He came up, he showed me Bumrah as well, showed me their plans on how to get Steve Smith out. Like, this is what we think. Like, this is, let them know, like, just if you get them out, you'll win the game. So, it's interesting how they, from an Indian cricket perspective, think about the game and how they run it. Yeah, and obviously the support we got from them was quite cool too. But like I say, they're modern greats in various formats for India, in the world. And it was really cool to be able to share an experience with them. I got on really nicely with Jasprit Bumrah, one of the nicest guys I think I've ever met in cricket. But a fierce competitor and probably probably the greatest 3-format bowler ever. So luckily I didn't have to play against him, but in the nets, we're winding each other up and, come on, Jasprit, you're the best in the world. You meant to get me out. And to try to wind him up, you can't bowl a slow ball. You can't do that. Trying to wind him up, and then he'd give me one, and I'd manage to hit him for 6, and then I act like an idiot in front of him. Who said you're the best bowler in the world? So, yeah, we had some great competition. Yeah, very friendly guys. They just enjoy the game. They obviously helped me. We chat a lot about obviously Indian conditions and how to do well for the team and what the Mumbai Indians expected. But yeah, it's second to none. If you have to say a few years ago that I'd get the opportunity to share change with them, it would have bit your hand and your arm off and run with it.
Tell me a little bit about the life that you get to lead while you're over there, in that if stepping outside of the door of a hotel has half a city pursuing you down the street, you're not there for a short period of time. It's about a part of 2 months if you go the full distance. It's cricket pitch, it's training. How do you deal with that amount of time where you're quite constrained, I'd imagine, in what you're able to do?
That's actually probably the biggest challenge of the IPL. Fortunately, in Mumbai, it's a major city. There's actually a lot on offer for us. Some really nice bars and restaurants, 1 or 2 golf courses as well. So we are fortunate. We are treated like royalty. You can honestly do whatever you need or go wherever you need to go in Mumbai. But I think when it does start to set in is when you have 5 or 6 days between each game and you locked in your room. So that's probably the biggest learning I took. With regards to cricket as well, is still trying to get yourself up for those games when you have 6 days to lie in bed and think about it. And that probably is the most difficult part about the IPL is you're sitting in India for 2-3 months. Not all of us, not everyone's fortunate enough to be in a major city like Mumbai. You get some smaller, quieter, less pretty places. And what can you do to try to keep yourself entertained? So we were fortunate enough. We had a really good overseas contingency group, and we would spend honestly all of our time together. We had a couple coffee machines in the rooms. We had our team room where all these kind of games you can play. Spend time at the pool, but it's where it really starts to eat at you. And you need to you need visitors firstly, and you need to try find things that can get you up for each week. So yeah, it was a massive learning curve for me. I'm not sure what I'm going to change next year when we go back, how I'm going to deal with it a bit better. But yeah, it is. That's where the mental battle of the IPL really actually comes to the front.
Well, you're also going to pay the price for being a World Test champion, because if it was 60 kids and hundreds of people last time, it'll be double that and more.
No, that is the problem.
When you get over there.
Can imagine if we win the IPL, how nuts Mumbai would go. So yeah, it's like I say, you can't get it anywhere else in the world. They're just so passionate. They really love it. And it's really cool. It's a blessing. It's also never a curse to have people support the team and support you. But yeah, if you're not used to it, it can be very eye-opening and can catch you off guard.
You talk about having visitors. I've had a number of invitations to get over. I haven't been able to make it yet, but I'm very much looking at next year's IPL. If I do come over, Give me something to check out other than the cricket in Mumbai I should put on my list, and from the rest of India that you've seen. And I know it's not a tourist trip you're on, and you're in and out a lot of the time. But is there another part of the country, another city, another attraction that you've seen that I should make sure as a visitor to India I don't miss?
I don't know how much you love and stuff like that, but we did go to the Taj Mahal, which was, obviously the place of love apparently, but that was quite a unique experience for me. We were fortunate enough, my family was over there as well, so we managed to make it a bit more touristy for them instead of obviously sitting and watching cricket in Mumbai and Jaipur. But yeah, I think India has quite a few hidden gems. You just got to know where to look. I obviously haven't experienced all of them yet, but I do know if you go up north to Dharamshala at the base of the Himalayas is really spectacular, very, undiscovered, natural and beautiful. So that's a really nice part of the world. And if you head down south to Goa and Trivandrum and stuff like that, it levels out to a bit more what you'd expect this side of the world too. So there are some really nice hidden gems in India. It's not all doom and gloom. But if you do make it over, we can chat about my mate's wedding like you really want to, because I'm sure that'll be the hot topic, and maybe we can visit one of the two of those sites.
Yeah, we have a mutual friend. He's probably listening to this because he's unemployed, much like his dad, and never does anything. But Connor Simpson Crabe, I think, we can't say too much because his fiancée might be listening. But I know that you're helping with the honeymoon plans for India, which I think are going to be quite special.
I don't think Sophie's listening, so we can chat about it as much as we want. But I've already suggested, as they got to be coming to Mumbai for their honeymoon, and why not even get married in India? They'd love it too.
Reception at Cafe Suzette.
Yeah, exactly. You could have it on the road there with lots of kids running and screaming.
Stay at the Trident. It's a wonderful, wonderful place, and I've never met a cricketer who doesn't have extraordinary things to say about the experience on and off the field of being over in India. But you are back home. I know the aforementioned Connor is one of the people you'll be catching up with, and that is so important when you've had these enormous highs, that recalibration, both here's some time off to just reset, but also with those people for whom, yes, you are now Ryan Rickelton world champion, but for them you're also just still my mate Ryan.
Yeah, you can lose a bit of touch of reality, I think.
When you arrived by helicopter here today, just
I did, yeah. I got dropped in. Yeah, you can lose touch of reality. In honesty, this year it's been quite busy with the SA20 straight into Champions Trophy for South Africa and IPL, and then obviously the WTC. So you can ride a really big wave of really lots of highs along the way, and then suddenly now it's ended, and you actually do forget that you're also a person as well, and there are people that care about you outside of that, outside of what you achieve. So fortunate enough that I got a really good group of people around me in my life, and really grateful that I have this opportunity just to be at home and live a bit more of a normal, mundane kind of life with my mates and my family and all the people that care about me. So yeah, and then just get back on the horse of normal stuff. A lot of golf, paddle, I guess, in the evenings, whatever the guys want to do. They all have real jobs. I don't.
Except for Connor.
Yeah, he's unemployed. So he's coming out for golf soon, back from London. So yeah, so it's just that touch of reality of what it is to live a mundane life. Like I said, it's very easy to forget about it. We travel again, or I start traveling again in August for the rest of the year, and I'll lose touch of reality again this month. But enjoying being home for what it is. And like I said, there's no place like it.
It's an element that people don't often appreciate, and things like personal and family relationships, trying to plug those in to a cricket calendar that runs kind of 15 months of the year at the moment as to how it is. But you are doing something you absolutely love, and it is a schoolboy dream time, and it's a dream that we hope as fans is going to continue, because there are more World Cups on the horizon. And in wrapping up, away from the great celebrations and the bringing South Africa such joy as you did, what I would hope comes out of this, and I'm pretty certain it will. You speak of Shukri wanting to instill belief into the team. we know as a country we have not had belief at World Cups. Most of us have been through therapy extensively, be it 92 in Australia, be it Duckworth Lewis in 03, be it a dropped catch, be it a semi-final in Australia. These are horrible moments, and you've slayed the dragon in terms of we finally have a trophy, but more importantly, I think a lot of those demons have now been set to rest. You've now got a group of guys, many of whom play across the board in the different formats, who can now go into a 50-over World Cup, a 20-over World Cup, going, you know what, we can actually win these things.
Yeah, 100%. And it's not just this last week that we've done something useful. I mean, we're in the semi-final of the World Cup in Barbados last year, which, a game we should have won. We were in a semi-final of the Champions Trophy this year, semi-final of the 2023 World Cup in India. So collectively, over a period of time, we've played some good cricket, and I think individual players have been exposed to different high-pressure situations across those last 3 or 4 trophies, which, you know, is great going forward, because that should consistently be the group in the next few years, with the T20 World Cup next year, and obviously the big prize of 27 in South Africa. So we're gaining those experiences, which is great, and obviously just to get this one over the line, you know, it can instill even more self-belief that we can, as a group, achieve it. It's not something we should shy away from, and obviously gaining that experience individually and as a team along the way as well. So, yeah, we've put a few demons to rest, but I think the big one, obviously, is the 50 over or the T20 World Cup. 27 probably being the biggest of them all. But again, like I say, it's those therapy sessions you've spoken about. This group, fortunately, not a lot of us have had to experience those. So we always try, you know, to unburden ourselves from the past, I guess, of World Cup, you know, failures, I suppose. But again, it's something that we can take confidence out of this last cycle, these last couple of years. And just make sure that we really prepare the best that we can and represent ourselves and the country as best as we can. And like you never know, like we say, if someone has a good week, a good couple months, you know, anything can happen, and the team will definitely be preparing to make sure that mentally that those demons are set aside and we can actually just go play the game to the best of our ability.
That was Ryan Rickelton's very subtle way of saying you're an elderly fan who remembers these things. I am far too young to know anything about them. And that is a situation I'm very happy with. Ryan, congratulations. I think you've got a reasonable idea of just what you guys did and how much of an impact you had. But you will keep learning that in days and weeks and months to come, as people you didn't think knew anything about cricket give you a big hug, come up to you in a supermarket, because we live, as you'll be well aware, in a completely mad country, and generally things are either it's the worst place in the world, I'm moving to New Zealand next week, it's all falling apart, or there is no greater country than South Africa. Yeah. I generally believe that, and I think our whole country believed that when that game came to an end and we saw you guys as world champions. So thank you. This was about far more than just cricket. You brought us all together, you had us all smiling, and for that we have a lifelong debt of gratitude.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me. Nice to be back.
There we go. My very special guest on the Dan Nicholl Show this week, part of the World Test Championship winning side, and possibly part of that 2027 World Cup winning side, Ryan Rickelton.
You're listening to The Dan Nicholl Show.